to Applegate Lane, where the EPA right now is looking into that home that have had many explosives in it. Louisville Metro Emergency Services is talking about it now.
Talked about before. We've mentioned burning the house for the last couple of weeks, and obviously that's a last-ditch option for us to do. But with the federal EPA coming in and looking at some of the contractors that they may have, it could be different. And they could be able to come in and clean it up. That's been the thought process from the beginning. It just took a couple days for Mayor Greenberg to actually request that federal assistance and then it get approved by the feds to come in and do that. So what's going on this morning is, we've mentioned all along that we're still working in parallel paths. We're going still with the mentality that we could have to burn the house, and we're going with the mentality that it could still be cleaned up. So we don't want to take our foot off the gas with our planning in case we do have to burn it, so that we're not behind. And if that's the case, we can do it as quick and as safely as possible for all of our responders in the community. So like I said, what's going on now is they're making entry into the house. Obviously the federal EPA members have only seen pictures and heard us talk about it, so they're actually getting eyes on it themselves. They've made one entry already. We've had somewhat of a small operational meeting, but we're going to meet later in the day. And also our local bomb techs are making entries as well to assist them, because they've been in the building before, and let them know where to step and where not to step and where things might be, so that it's safe for everybody that's going into the building. We've also got some state resources on site just to assist. We're performing decontamination for everybody that comes out in and out of the building. We've got some air monitoring going on outside the building just to clear up any of that. Make sure there's no hazardous atmosphere outside the building. Anybody have any questions?
Is this just a visual inspection, or are they actually testing the chemicals to find out what they're dealing with?
They are running some tests. They're not moving any bottles or opening any bottles or anything like that. So they're performing some tests. They're going to take it back to their labs and see what kind of results they get. It'll be a couple days before they get anything. So, but it's not a cleanup operation at all. This is mainly just a reconnaissance where they can get in there and get their eyes on what they're dealing with.
Jody, what is it that the EPA will be looking for that might be different than what crews have already been looking at, and how will that inform their decision?
The biggest thing is the safety of the responders in the community. So, this could be a several week, potentially to a couple month operation if they have to come in and clean it up. We don't know that. So, they're looking at the best course of action, but, the safety of them and their contractors is of the utmost importance. So if they don't think they can do this safely and pick apart every little piece of what's in that building, then they may recommend that that's burning of the house is the best thing to do.
And you all had previously said that you believe that it wasn't safe to go in there and pick it apart by hand. What makes the EPA more suited to do that? What is it that's going to make that potentially a path forward for them when it wasn't for the city?
So they're a federal cleanup contractor that has similar situations that they've dealt with before. I don't know how this compares to other jobs that they may have performed. That's something that we'll talk about later and in the next coming days. But like I said, when we have any type of large hazardous materials incident in the area, it could be a federal contractor from the EPA that's recommended to come in and clean that up anyway. So this is just the process that takes place during a situation like this.
So basically, if you guys before today were 50% sure if you'd have to burn it, 50%, you guys are still...
No, we're still moving parallel, just in case, they may come back and say, yeah, that's the best course of action. They've also said that, that they'll support us in any way we need if that is a course of action that has to take place. So they'll be on site with us until this thing's cleaned up.
You mentioned later today that you guys were going to have another meeting. Would you know later today, or when would be the for sure day when you know if you?
No, they're going to get their samples back from any of the monitoring that they did when they went inside, and then they've got to go back and potentially consult their bosses, other contractors, and let them know what they found once they got in here, so that they can make that determination as well.
If the EPA,
how long do you think that would take?
It could take days to up to a week, possibly. We don't really know.
If the EPA does decide that they think they can go in there and do this by hand, would there be some sort of process that needs to happen on the city end to request further federal assistance? What would that look like in terms of cost?
The federal assistance has already been done, so that's all within the same process.
When you say this could take weeks, you mean the EPA could be here on site for weeks, or what is this going to look like for neighbors?
We'll have a better understanding of what it's going to take. They're going to leave probably in the next couple of days once they get their reconnaissance done to go back and evaluate and talk with their other team members. So once we know exactly what their recommendation is going to be, that's when we'll have a better time frame of how long it may take. No, they're just going to be here the next couple of days. This may be the only day that we're on site. They're going to meet with some of the responders as well. So as far as I know right now, unless they don't get the things accomplished that they want to do today, we may have to come back tomorrow, but that's all we're anticipating. Mother Nature didn't help this morning. We were a little bit behind with the rain, but they want to try to accomplish everything they need to do for this part of it today.
When you have a timeline, let's say it goes out, it's tested, and it comes back in a few days, how long does it take to determine, you mentioned if you are going to burn it? Do you burn it the next day? Does that still take another week? So we're looking at minimum two weeks. If
we really can't answer that either, because we're going to work with the National Weather Service and get those perfect conditions. So, like a day like today, we don't want to burn it on because of the cloud cover and the smoke will lay low. So we're going to work with them and exactly see the best course of action and the best day that it's going to take there.
Can you decide that day though? Like if you want to burn it and let's say everything turns out it does need to be burned, can it be burned that next day, or do you have to give a week?
We'll still have some planning some planning things that we have to do.
Given that this, with the EPA being here and then them taking things back and doing their own assessments, is kind of stretching out a timeline a little bit, should neighbors be concerned about the explosives that are in the house, about anything potentially happening to them during that waiting period?
Right now, we feel like it's stable. Even leaving today, we'll make sure that the house is stable. It's closed up. We'll put the fence back around the house. There'll be 24-hour surveillance with LMPD on site. So we still feel like that the building's stable as it was in the last couple of weeks. It's more stable than it was before we got in there. So we feel like it's still safe.
Have
All
you
right.
been in there personally?
I have not.
Do you know about how many EPA personnel?
I believe they've got 8 to 10 people on site.
Do you know how many people have been inside the house?
So far today, 6 probably, and there'll be more throughout the day. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry it took me a minute to get out here.
Are you going to do another one later today after that, or are you just going to?
Probably not.
All right, you heard the very latest from Jody Myman from Louisville Metro Emergency Services, giving us the latest on the Environmental Protection Agency being at that Highview home. You may remember on July 27th, the home is located next to each other. There's 2 houses, 6211 and 6213 Applegate Lane, where they have found chemicals and homemade explosives. They were stored in that home after a search warrant was served by Louisville Metro Police undercover officers. But most of the chemicals are inside 6213 Applegate Lane. So we heard about emergency crews, environmental services, EPA crews going inside the home today, trying to figure out what the best plan is moving forward. They've have the local bomb techs also in that home. They're running tests on the things that are found in there. But right now, it sounds like it's going to be a bit before they figure out what exactly they're going to be doing to that house. Wave News reporter David Mattingly is following this story for us today. He's going to have more coming up at 5 and 6. I'm Myra Ansari. I'll see you on Wave News at 3 o'clock.